Hey everyone, welcome to Passive Play. So we have Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities series episode 2 titled Graveyard Rats, directed by Vincenzo Natali, streaming on Netflix. So we open with two grave robbers stealing jewelry off the dead body, and they get caught by another grave robber, Mason, who has a gun, and he robs them. There's no honor among thieves here. He opens the dead corpse mouth and takes out her gold filling, but when it falls inside of the coffin, he ends up getting bit by this rat. And he basically is a professional. Mason is basically a professional grave robber who makes his money off of, finding jewelry that people, are, burying with their loved ones, or, heirlooms and different things like that. And he uses that to make a profit, but he also he ends up owing money to a bookie for a card game that he lost. And basically the rats are apparently um, taking the bodies from the coffin through tunnels underground. And we find that Mason has found this dead body of this rich man whose mouth is entirely almost made up of gold fillings. He has some medals, and he also has this golden kind of saber sword that's all going to be buried with him. And within a couple hours of the funeral, Mason goes to dig up the body, and he's dug up the grave, but he can hear the rats already like squealing on the inside of the coffin before he opens it up. He opens it up, and the rats have already dragged, most of the guy's body into the tunnel. He goes after this dead body, to try to get the gold fillings from his teeth and the golden saber, and he goes deeper into the tunnel. He ends up kind of causing a collapse, and the tunnel kind of falls in on him, and he ends up coming across like a bunch of the rats who end up like crawling all over his body. He ends up shooting a gun that ends up alerting the queen mother, who's like this giant rat. And the mother rat ends up biting him. He ends up shooting her, and as he gets away, he ends up falling down this like pit, this like long tunnel kind of pit, and falls into this pit of all these like dead bones. But underneath, within the dead bones, there's all this like jewelry and stuff from these different bones of dead bodies. And when he kind of looks around the pit, he ends up seeing this zombie corpse that has this golden kind of golden metal chain thing. And of course, he's like, oh, I can probably get a lot of money from this. So he ends up going and tries to take the chain off the corpse. And when he does, the corpse comes to life and it starts attacking him. It bites off his ear. He gets away as he kind of goes up into this other tunnel, and he causes another kind of collapse when the corpse is coming up one tunnel to get him, and then the mother rat is coming down another. He ends up causing a collapse, and this giant rock falls on the queen mother rat, and that kills her. And then it traps the corpse through a bunch of rubble that it can't get through all the rubble. Then he ends up looking up, and he sees this light in the far upper tunnel. It's a lot of tunnels. And he crawls starts going up towards the light, and then he finds himself back in the tunnel that he initially chased the dead body and the rats of this rich man. And now this tunnel, the that coffin has been closed now, and he's trapped. And then, of course, once he realizes he's trapped, he hears the squealing of the rats, and then they come in side of the coffin, and they start eating him, and basically they kill him. And lo and behold, a little bit later, those two grave robbers from earlier in the episode that he robbed, they end up opening up this up his grave now with this coffin, and then they see his dead body in there. As they go to try to get the gold medallion that he stole from the corpse that's now around his neck, his body starts to move, and his mouth opens up, and then rats just start coming out of his mouth. And then all of a sudden there's just like, maybe, I don't know, about 50 or 100 rats that just starts swarming on top of his body. These grave robbers, they run away and hopefully decide to take up a new profession, or go to school, or find a new skill, and the episode ends there. Again, this episode too, it wasn't really scary. It was more cringy, like creepy crawly than scary to me. If you can imagine, like, rats on top of you, or I don't know, or if you were in bed and then you just feel like something on your foot or your toe or something. Like, in that sense, yeah, that's kind of, it's more like, where it makes you kind of like your skin crawl kind of a thing. I do like the whole moral of the story aspect. It's better, to be better and do better. Even with the first review, if you've seen that one, Lot 36, both of these characters are like not necessarily the best people. Even though Mason is, I wouldn't say he is as bad as Nick from the first episode. I would say Mason's a little bit better as far as how he treats people to a sense, but he's still a thief. He's still, still robbing the dead. So morally, he's still off. But I guess as far as overall character, he's still technically a little bit better. I guess at least Nick was more heartless, and didn't really consider the people that he kind of was buying the storage units of. In this case, Mason is, he's a thief. He's robbing these people. Though they're dead, it's still not his property. But either way, they both pay for their actions with their lives. And if you have musophobia, which is the term for fear of mice or rats, then this episode probably would scare you. And there's another thing with rats too that he kind of dreams about. I guess it's kind of like a dream, which is actually, even though it turns out to be a foreshadowing of how he dies. But also too, both of these stories, they involve the main characters owing a debt to someone, or a bookie, or some loan shark or card shark. And that it's part of the story. It's not necessarily even though actually it does turn out to be both the driving force in the first episode and the second episode. That's the driving force for them making the decisions that they're making. So maybe if, yeah, that's actually is a driving force for them making these decisions. So it is kind of part of the overall plot and part of their decision making. So, but again, this one wasn't really scary either. Just more like creepy, crawly, kind of cringy. But let me know what you think, if you like the episode. Okay. Again, it wasn't scary. Again, I thought the story was good. It was okay. but not like scary or like really horror, at least not to me. And neither again was the first one. It was okay. The stories I think are pretty good. They both are, at least these first two, they're both evolving again, main characters, um making decisions based on owing a debt to a loan or card shark, or because they owe a debt to someone who's dangerous. And this episode is a little bit under 40 minutes. It's like 38 minutes and some seconds. But other than that, if you like this review, hit the like button. If you have any comments about the episode or anything I said, comment below. And if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. All right, see you next time and see you next episode.